My name is Maya, and I'm 27. This is the story of my brother, Liam. He was 2 years older than me, and for as long as I can remember, I adored him. But Liam carried a shadow he could never escape: his addiction to cigarettes. I still remember when it began. He was 19, young, wild, and surrounded by friends who thought smoking looked cool. At first, it was just one cigarette at parties. But little by little, it turned into one in the morning, one after lunch, one before bed. Before long, the smoke became part of his life, and part of ours too. Our parents begged him to stop. I pleaded with him countless times. But he always smiled and said, "I'll quit soon, Maya. I promise." But soon never came. By 25, the smoke was in his clothes, in his hair, even in the air around him. He coughed often. His skin turned pale, and his eyes lost their brightness. He wanted to quit. I could see it. But every attempt ended the same. He tried chewing gum, eating candy, drinking coffee instead. But every craving pulled him back in. He was trapped, and he knew it. As his 30th birthday approached, something changed in him. One night, he said quietly, "Maya, I don't want to turn 30 like this. I want to start again, clean." There was hope in his voice, but behind it, fear too. I wanted to believe him, but he'd made that promise before. Then, one morning, he came to me with a strange plan. I found a small island near the Canadian border. No people, no shops, no cigarettes. I'll stay there until my body is free. I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He packed food, water, clothes, and a tent. I tried to stop him, but he said, "It's only 7 days, Maya. Don't worry. When I come back, I'll be free." A week later, I stood on a small dock as he boarded a tiny boat with his backpack. I held his arm one last time. "Please, be careful." He smiled. "When I return, I'll be smoke-free." I watched the boat drift away until it disappeared into the horizon. My heart was heavy with fear and hope at the same time. The island was silent, covered in trees, stones, and one lonely cave. The air was clean, the water shimmered under the sun. Liam told me later that the first thing he did was take out his last pack of cigarettes. He stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "Goodbye," and threw it deep into the bushes. The first day wasn't too bad. He ate fruit, drank water, and walked under the sky. He felt free. But as night fell, his hands started to shake. His thoughts circled around cigarettes. He couldn't sleep. The second day was worse. His head throbbed, his mouth felt dry, his body begged for nicotine. He found himself walking toward the bushes where he'd thrown the pack. But he stopped. "No, I can do this," he whispered to himself. By the third day, loneliness hit him harder than the craving. No music, no phone, no one to talk to, just the endless sound of water. He spent hours throwing pebbles into the lake, watching the ripples disappear. Then something strange happened. He found a bottle, almost full of whiskey, hidden near a rock. He laughed. Who left this here? He was alone, bored, exhausted. Maybe just one sip. The drink burned his throat, but it made his mind light. He felt warm, calm, almost peaceful. But then, he heard music. soft, distant music coming from the trees. He followed the sound until he found something he couldn't believe. An old man sitting by a cave with a small radio beside him, and in his hand, a cigar. Liam froze. He thought he was alone. "Who are you?" he asked. The man turned slowly, surprised. "I came here to give up alcohol," he said, lifting his bottle. "And you?" Liam looked at the whiskey in his hand and felt ashamed. "I came to quit smoking," he replied quietly. The man, "Then that bottle you're holding might be mine." Liam looked down and murmured, "And that pack of cigarettes in the bushes might be yours." The man laughed again. "Then maybe we can trade." They sat down by the cave, two strangers bound by the same weakness. The old man introduced himself as Arthur, 60 years old. He told Liam he had lost everything, his wife, his job, his friends, all because of alcohol. Liam listened, realizing how similar they were. Both had tried to quit. Both had failed. At one point, Liam whispered, "Please, can I have just one cigarette?" Arthur said, "If you give me the whiskey, I'll give you the cigarettes." Liam hesitated, then handed him the bottle. The man reached into the cave and returned with the pack. When Liam lit that cigarette, he felt calm for the first time in days. But deep down, he knew he had lost again. Days passed. Liam and Arthur sat by the lake, smoking and drinking. The radio played old songs, and the air was heavy with regret. Back home, I counted every day, praying he'd come back smoke-free. When the boat returned on the 7th day, I ran to the dock. The moment I saw him, I smelled the smoke before I even reached him. His eyes looked empty. He didn't need to speak. I already knew. That night he told me everything. The island, the bottle, the old man, the cave, the failure. When he finished, he said, "Maya, I'm weak." I wanted to tell him he wasn't, but the truth sat between us. He had tried so many times and failed every time. That night, he sat outside under the stars, smoking quietly. I watched him from the window, tears in my eyes. But I refused to give up hope. The next morning, he said, "I'll try again. I can't give up." I smiled, even though my heart was heavy. Days turned into weeks. Nothing changed. He smoked when he woke up. He smoked after meals. He smoked before sleep. My parents grew silent. My mother cried when no one was looking. My father avoided conversation altogether. One evening, Liam came to my room holding a cigarette. "Maya," he whispered, "do you think I'm a bad person?" My heart broke. "No, Liam. You're not bad. You're kind. You're loved. But this thing is stronger than you. You can't fight it alone." He nodded slowly. I thought the island would save me. But when I smelled that cigar, I lost everything again. I hate myself for it. I held his hand and said, "You failed, yes. But failure doesn't mean the end. You can still try again." He looked at me, eyes full of pain. "But what if I always fail?" I didn't have an answer. So I told him the only truth I knew. Even if you fail 100 times, I'll still stand by you. Weeks later, nothing was different, but my hope remained. One afternoon, we sat in silence. The window was open. He held a cigarette, but didn't light it. "Maya," he said quietly, "maybe this is my life. Smoke, cough, try, fail, repeat." I wanted to tell him no, but I stayed quiet. I knew only he could write the next part of his story. Then he said something that still echoes in my mind. "When I met Arthur, I saw my future. If I don't change, I'll become him. Old, alone, and broken." But even with that fear, I couldn't stop. That night, I prayed. Not for him to be perfect, but for him to find strength. Years later, I still see the boy he once was, full of life and dreams, and the man he became, trapped in his own smoke. Addiction isn't just a habit. It's a chain that wraps around the heart and mind. Liam wasn't bad. He was my brother. He was loved, but he wasn't free. Even now, I hope one day he'll look at the cigarette in his hand and say, resolute, "No more." Because no matter how many times he falls, I'll still believe in him, even when he can't believe in himself. Thank you for listening to my story. If my words touched your heart, please support, like, and share. It gives me strength to tell more stories.